Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another session of the virtual NSS convention. As part of international exploration today, I'm going to be talking about our recent expedition to the Philippines, to Sultan Kudarat province on the southern island of Mindanao. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of the project. I'm going to talk about the expedition in January of 2020, and then we'll kind of wrap up with a photo kind of slideshow of some of the pretties. There's definitely some really beautiful caves in this area, and so I've got a bunch of shots, mostly from Dave Bunnell, kind of to wrap things up. Okay, first off, where are we talking about? Well, the Philippines is, of course, an island nation off the coast of Southeast Asia, very much a tropical place, fairly densely populated, lots of people in the Philippines. We're in the southern island, main island, that is kind of that rightmost bottom island there. And we're in the south central coast, coastal area, and in a pretty big block of limestone. It's probably hard to discern, but there's a little green blob on the geologic map on the right, kind of in south central Mindanao, and that is our limestone and karst area where we're at. We fly into Manila, which is on the big northern island, Luzon, and then it's about an hour flight down to General Santos City, where we base out of to then travel up to the karst. So this project originally got started with Glenn Maliette. Glenn's an American caver from California who's done a bunch of trips to the Philippines. In fact, he married a Filipino woman, Melody, and so he spent a lot of time there and has very close connections with the Philippines. And he made the first contacts with SBOC, the Sarangani Bay Area Outdoor Club. That's the local caving club in General Santos City. And they're the ones who had first been out and seen the caves of this area in terms of cavers. And so Glenn told me about this area for several years. He was very excited about it, had a lot of enthusiasm for it. He had some really nice topo maps with big sinking rivers and giant sinkholes that were really compelling. And so we kept talking about it for a number of years, and finally things came together in 2015, and Glenn and I organized that first expedition and kind of got things going and reestablished contacts with SBOC and with a lot of government officials out there in that part of the country. From that point on, we've had 3 other expeditions. Cindy Walk and Shane Fryer did a lot of the work to organize those trips with help from myself and Glenn and Nancy Pistol too, but they got a lot of it together. And then really the person who makes it all happen is Mikhail Cuevas. He is from SBOC. And he's an amazing organizer. This guy is just super good at getting and putting together cave trips. And these are very complicated trips to organize. They're big affairs, as I'll kind of explain in a few minutes. Then this most recent trip in January of this year was organized by myself, and then with Glenn and Nancy helping out. So that's kind of how we got to where we are today. And it's been a good project for sure. We've had a lot of fun and spent time in a lot of great caves. So caving in the Philippines, without the local support we get, and we get a lot of local support, it just would not fly. We really have these critical partnerships. The Filipino folks are really helpful, really supportive, super friendly and nice. It's been great to work with all of them. We get transportation, vehicles, food, accommodations, guides. All this stuff comes to us to help with the project. And so we're really everyone's really very engaged at different levels of the government, the cavers and the caving club and the local people. And so it's a great thing when it all comes together. Here's a picture of Miko. He's just goofing around. They had rescued these snakes from a pit. He and Matt Oliphant were kind of having a little bit of fun with this. So just to give you some ideas of kind of the logistics, we were typically a group of 6 to 9 cavers, American cavers. And then typically there was usually around 10 or so SBOC cavers. We had the provincial rescue team with us. They kind of specialized in urban rescue, but they came along and learned some caving. And then we do have a security contingent. There's definitely some rebel groups in the area, although one of them did recently surrender. There's been some theft issues and problems, so they're more comfortable if when we're around, there's a security detail with us, then we don't mind it either because we're more comfortable and feel safe and secure having these folks along. Then we have cooks and camp staff, drivers, and lots of government officials, folks from the tourism department, folks from the local government, folks from the provincial government, come and go a lot. And so we have a big contingent of people, and everybody's got to eat and have a place to sleep And this is the kind of the magic that MECO pulls together with close cooperation with a lot of the local government officials. This shot's kind of right from the beginning of the trip. This is the military just sort of hosted us for a breakfast to welcome us and to kind of kick off and begin the expedition. So, and as you can see there, we went through 6 50-kilogram bags of rice. The Filipinos like to eat a lot of rice, but still it gives you some idea of the cooking and the food that goes into these expeditions. Okay, so what's this place like? It's hundreds of square kilometers of upland karst. It's a beautiful area, lots and lots of cockpits and giant sinkholes. And the low end of it is kind of at the northwest corner. And the limestone probably goes down to about 100 meters, just kind of sits above the coast there. And the higher parts are maybe as much as 1,000 meters off to more the south and southeast side of the limestone. It's pretty much the whole surface is karsted. There are a number of big sinking rivers on the southwest side of the limestone, and these are then resurging in the Tron River, which kind of cuts through the eastern and northern parts of the limestone. So the Tron is kind of the key drainage for the area and where the caves come to an end, where they resurge back to the surface. Typically, we're then following the rivers, following these cave streams, either up from entrances on the Tran or down from entrances where the caves sink, where the rivers sink up at the more of the upland areas. And oftentimes we lose our nice big tropical river passages in sumps. We got lots of sumps. So, okay, so far on these expeditions, there's been more than 20 kilometers of survey in 30 different caves. Our longest cave is a little over 3 kilometers and still going, so that's nice. We've been to and seen some super gorgeous caves, including Lake Boston here. We're going to have more photos of that one coming up, and also really great other nice caves like Makioman and Geradico. These are all local names. They're a little hard for me to pronounce sometimes. I apologize for that. And of course, we've had lots of presentations and articles written on the project. You guys have probably all seen some of this stuff. And we are now working on a book on the caves and on the area in close cooperation with the Filipinos. So lots of projects, lots of stuff going on from the work there. So what was going on this year? We had some new folks on the project. Pat, Dave Bennell, Philip Reichwalker, and also Naz Lathrop, again, California caver, who's super gung-ho. We love that. We stayed in a couple of the same towns we stayed in before, Quechadac and Capellan, and we're hosted by those communities, which was really great. Something that Cindy had set up a couple of years back was having MECO go out early, a few months in advance, work with the local folks, and get information on where the area caves were. And so we did that again this year, and once again that resulted in a bunch of good leads that we could just kind of head to and go do our work without having to do a bunch of ridge walking and stuff. So, of course, the caving expedition is coming to this area, but this area's been settled and had people in it for thousands of years. So the local folks have known about these caves for a very, very long time and been far back into them. We're bringing a little different perspective, of course, making maps, trying to do some science and documenting the caves and talking about tourism with the local government officials. But the caves have been known about for a very long time. Not anything new there. We met with the governor, we launched the book project, and hopefully Pat and I are going to go back and teach a cave management class for the province, which we hope to do once COVID calms down here. So here's some of the caves from this year. Tagrabal, really nice cave. Some nice passage, big rooms, very nicely decorated, huge stalagmites, lots of good stuff. This is actually pretty much just inside one of the entrances. There's kind of a complex of insurgencies here where several streams are sinking and coming together in this cave. Here's a 80-meter high ceiling, a little further inside. Nice big tall room. The river is kind of down below and to the right in this photograph. Here's kind of some of the typical downstream passage. This cave did end in a sump. We think maybe the waterway, the stream in this cave is maybe heading for another cave that is a resurgence on the Tron River called Tenebach. The two seem to line up. We're finding this more and more as we map more of the caves, that insurgences are lining up with resurgences, and we're assuming the systems are connected. We've not done the dye tracing. Certainly there hasn't been any diving done to see if these systems can actually be put together, but it would be a great project to do so. Loam Cave, this one has been one we keep going back to because it just keeps on going. It's a very linear, very beautiful, well-decorated stream cave. Lots of water, and we're now at the back. It is actually getting to some dry upper level passages, which we don't have in the front of the cave. So it was good to go back and check out some of the stuff in the cave. It's very much often a canyon. Ceiling heights are at 20, 30, even 40 meters through these passages and in some of the rooms. Lots of style down the walls. Good number, swimming in a good number of spots. Some shower heads. You can see the dark marks on the wall, kind of the dark staining from higher water levels. This cave, of course, and most of the rest of them here do seem to flood pretty aggressively. One of the rooms had some real nice cave pearls. And here's a map of the cave. You can see how linear it is. And then at the lower left end there, we've got continuing open leads. So a cave we're looking forward to going back to and continuing the length of. As I mentioned before, this is the longest cave we've found so far, and we're excited that it keeps on going. And we had some good survey and good discovery in 2020 in here. So Makiman and Eddy's caves. These are part of a complex of caves that are part of the greater Pongo cave system. Pongo is the cave with the largest passages that we've found so far. This is the entrance to Makiman. There'd been some other work done in these caves, a previous expedition in 2019, and so we kind of came back to kind of finish up the surveys here and do some more photography work. Really great space sites in Makiman. Here's some shots of a couple of these guys by Dave Bunnell. Beautiful stuff, really nicely tucked away in some side passages away from the river. A lot of good space sites in these caves. Seems to be a lot of regonite present in the speleothems, giving them these spacite cups and shapes. And here's the Pongo map. This is actually the main downstream section. This is Nancy Pistol's map. Real nice map. This is a big passage cave. Lots of 40-meter ceiling heights and then even greater cave widths. And it too eventually ends in a sump downstream, but this particular section's well over 1 kilometer long. So nice cave, nice big passages in this area. Then also we spent one day down on the Tron River looking at some of the resurgence caves. These guys did not go too far, but we mapped them up and documented them and got some good shots along the way. And then I actually left at about this point in time of the expedition. Dave and Pat and I went over to Lake Boston Cave, which is accessed from kind of a different area, to do a photography trip. But the main team kept going with the survey project, and these are some of the caves that they then explored next that unfortunately Dave and Pat and I missed. Oban and Dala caves, these were explored out of the Ketchadock area, both stream caves that had been shown to Miko last September on his reconnaissance trip there, and both continue. There was several hundred meters of survey put into each of these, but they both keep going, so that's great. Definitely objectives for the next expedition. You can see the entrance there is used by local folks as a source of water if you go down to the cave stream. And then one of the neat things in these caves is the outcrops of volcanic rock, as Philip's kind of showing us there. This is the underlying stone beneath the limestone, and that of course means that these caves are cut all the way down to the limestone and are sitting on that volcanic rock that does not erode so easily. Here's the just very recently completed map of Oban Cave. Niles led the charge on this with help from Glenn and Carol. You can see very much a stream cave with leads on both ends. And here's Dala Cave, which kind of has a similar shape, although somewhat different characteristics, with some dry passage and a stream cave. This map was also just completed by Glenn here just about a week ago or so. So it's great to have these new maps completed and done for the project. Another cave that they visited out of the Capelon area, the team moved to Capelon at about this time, was Sigad Bussal, another new stream cave. This one was surveyed over 600 meters, open leads on both ends. The cave keeps going, and very interestingly, in this cave were quite a few bones that appear to be quite old. Glenn Malliette did do a report on these and turned it into the local organization. Government organization that manages paleontology and archaeology, and so there may be some follow-up work done in this cave to document that. And then another cave that was done out of Capelon was Juridico. Forest quiet. This is a cave that was connected into Capelon Back Cave, an underlying cave to make a system 2.2 kilometers long. So that was a real nice connection, and this upper level Juridico is well decorated, quite pretty. The connection was vertical. We've got some other photographs from this cave from Matt Oliphant coming up. But a real nice cave, real nice upper level, big trunk, pretty classic tropical, nice caving. So folks had a real good time surveying this one up and then connecting it into Capelon Bat Cave. So here's a couple shots from Matt of some of the nice spathites that were in Juridico. So yeah, real pretty stuff. So overall in 2020, we surveyed about 8 kilometers of cave passages. All of it was real nice cave. Pretty scenic, big, real pleasant. Most caves continue. Lots of leads left. We ended the year with more leads than we started with, so that's always a nice way to wrap up an expedition. We also had continued good relations with the local folks. It's great to work with the Filipino cavers, great to work with the Filipino government officials. They're super nice and super supportive, as I've mentioned. So it was another great expedition this year. Everyone's already psyched to go back again next year, and we're going to keep having more fun in these nice tropical caves. Okay, now we're going to do kind of a quick photo slideshow of some of the more spathites and some of Lugbasan Cave, where Dave and Pat and Miko and I went to do a dedicated photography trip. So this first shot is from Lugbasan, and I should say that basically all of these photographs are in a very small area. We just keep turning about 90 degrees and then taking more photos. So this is a really dense and impressive collection of speleothems in this cave. There's lots of splatter here, where the water is falling great distances and it splatters and makes these fins on the side of the stalagmites, and these stack of plate stalagmites that is how the French describe them, these kind of unusual stalagmites when the water falls from great distances that are kind of semi-splattermites. So here's just a shot of kind of this is actually the very terminus wall of the cave in this direction, and it's beautifully decorated with Miko there in the foreground. Here's some more of the splattermites. There are vast numbers of large broken cave formations in Lugbasan. And what's behind Miko, of course, clearly there has broken. And we're guessing, we don't know, but we're guessing earthquakes. This area is certainly tectonically very active. Lots of earthquakes happen. And these cave formations seem to be growing quickly in this big upper level trunk passage. And they seem to grow and then break and then more grow on top of them. And the cycle seems to repeat itself many times. Well, here's looking at a big wall of formations that protrude out into this big room. The local folks call this the crown. Very fitting name for a giant wall of Stow. Here's kind of looking at the base of it. You can see some of the splattermite fins, some real nice cave curtains, all these kind of very nice creamy white colors, super scenic. This is sort of just over in the corner, very nearby from the other photographs, just another great display of the speleothems and getting a lot of kind of odd shapes. You can see more of the broken speleothems on the floor. Here you can see more of the splattermites out in front of Miko, these fins that stick up off to the sides. Some of these are really tall, meters in height. Maybe as much as 5 meters, probably some of the largest splattermites in the world. Really a spectacular stuff. Here you can see one of these splattermite stalagmite complexes that almost looks like it's erupted out of the ground because of these odd fins of the splattermites on the side. There's thousands of these things in the cave. Splattermites all over the place. Another view just in another little area off to the other, kind of off on the other wall. Again, you can see more of the broken formations, some really nice stalagmites. Okay, and now we're switching now to the smaller stuff, more of the spathites and things in Makiuman and also in Juridico caves. Nice views of the spathites. This one I think is from Matt. Here the spathites are kind of in amongst these curtains. More crazy cool spathites. Close-up shot by Matt. Beautiful stuff, very delicate. And that's it. Thanks for tuning in and checking out this part of the International Exploration Session for the NSS Virtual Convention. And remember, Black lives do most certainly matter. Have a great rest of your summer, everybody. Thanks much and take care.